Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now October 13th of 2023, and given that there's a lot of things happening right now with Disney, as they are anticipating yet another box office failure for 2023, that of course being The Marvels, which by the way is still slated for November 10th, their only saving grace for this year is the movie called Wish, and they're really banking on this movie to really kind of end things off with 2023 at least having one major success. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And now, one big difficulty that Disney is having with right now is the current scenario with Snow White, the live-action remake. This is an ever-evolving disaster that's in the making. They know that their marketing is so out of the shape, it's so unorganized that they don't know what to do with this film, and there's been a lot of emergency meetings, month by month, including this, of course, of October. There's a lot of things happening with Bob Iger, the Disney Board of Directors, the creatives behind Snow White like Mark Webb, Greta Gerwig, Aaron Wilson, and more. And, well, let's just say matters just recently got even worse for Snow White, as they have a concrete plan now to cancel the movie entirely in different ways. And let's discuss exactly what's happening here and why they are moving through with all of this. Now, the thing about Bob Iger, and I always like to call him Bob Liger. I know it may get old, but this guy does like to lie and really kind of just say what he has to say to convince the shareholders and the general public that everything's A-okay when it's not. However, with Snow White 24 going through endless issues within Disney right now, one major development has to do with a major plan being put together by Disney in a recent emergency meeting for Snow White that took place. Given that the other Snow White projects have been cancelled, such as the prequels and the direct sequel, we talked about that, they are already developing a strategy to cancel Snow White on two conditions. The first has to do with the official trailer reception, and whether or not the backlash will be worse than the Little Mermaid scenario, based on social media interactions and how it performs in the mainstream media. This is the main factor in Disney making that call and decision to pull plans on releasing the film in theaters and to cancel the film entirely from making its way onto screens around the world. The second factor that plays into this is that Disney has discussed and has been involved with many different conversations on how well the marketing is received as far as exposure goes for both television and the internet. This is something that Disney seriously discussed, and it is now their concrete plan on deciding if they are to pull the film from theaters or not. Now guys, let me just say one thing here real quick before I get to the next big piece about all of this, is that we know that Snow White is gonna fail, and it's gonna fail hard. No matter what they do with this movie, whether you re-edit it, which they are currently doing, or if you even embrace reshoots, which they could not do because of the ongoing actors' strike getting in the way currently, there's a lot of different scenarios that they are chasing right now in an attempt to either improve the film or fix the movie. It's not going to do a thing. As long as you got the 7 magical creatures in there, as displayed, and you got Rachel Zegler as Snow White, this movie, in and of itself, is a disaster. It's not just that, though. They are excluding the source material, they're diverting from the traditional love story and or altering it completely. And it's not just that also. Zegler already deeply damaged whatever was left of Disney's image, and especially for the Snow White brand, to the point that many families, believe it or not, are beginning to boycott Disney and this film entirely. It's not just single individual people, it's full-fledged families that are like, yeah, we want nothing to do with this. So, this is where matters get even more serious, because now you can see that they have a full-fledged plan as per their emergency meeting where they discussed other factors related to a movie called The Marvels. They're also trying to figure out the marketing for that film that's going to ramp up next week, and it's not looking good either. But there's also a lot of other things going into Snow White 2024. They already cut back roughly 45% of their funds on the marketing, which was well over $100 million, to be specific. Right around there, like 110, give or take. That's how much was getting poured into the marketing of this movie, which is massive, on top of the already big budget of Snow White of over $300 million, which is insanity. There's no reason why a movie like Snow White has to be that much money when a movie like The Creator, go check out the trailer, was only like $80-some million, so there's no excuse to fund these movies, and to a high degree that's just absolutely crazy. But moving on top of that, however, the catch behind all of this is that though they do have plans to cancel the film from theaters, their Hail Mary would be to release it strictly on Disney+, direct to streaming, and to analyze whether or not this will result in a drop in subscriber loss or not, to move forward, whether or not they want to even keep it on that platform or shoot it straight to Blu-ray as the last resort on disc formats instead. This is a full-fledged plan now by Disney, and that was, of course, initiated by Bob Iger after the Snow White backlash continues to get worse over time, with no resolution in sight. Those like Bob Iger have tried every other marketing strategy prematurely. As far as funding for ads go, then they have made serious cutbacks, like I explained before, to reduce spending on Snow White as it is. This is an ongoing development between Iger and the board in order to save whatever image is left of Disney at this point, as they are falling into full panic mode as it is. The actors and actresses have been informed about this strategy being planned by Disney, and everyone is reportedly very unsatisfied with this even being discussed or talked about. Now, here's the problem that Iger has, is that he is the actual guy that promised years ago that this Snow White live-action remake was going to be a direct beat-for-beat remake of the original 37 film, which was a complete lie. You know, we know that when Chapek took over, that's when a lot of things began to shift around and everything began to change for the movie here and there. So a lot of people like to point fingers at Iger, others like to point fingers at Chapek, but when Iger came back recently, that's when things really began to get awkward with the post-production of this film, because we gotta remember that filming wrapped in like the end of June into early July, more like the early July section of 2022. And it's been in post-production for a very long time, well over a year now. That's crazy, isn't it? So it's really interesting to see what's actually, taking place within Disney and how this is actually wreaking havoc over at the company based on themselves being so clueless on how to really handle this film. And I know I said this before, but there's no way that this movie is going to make a profit. I don't think it's going to break even. We have seen what they did with The Little Mermaid, and as it turns out, that budget was higher than previously reported, which makes it even all the more disastrous. If you think that's bad, Snow White's going to be a whole lot worse. And it's only going to get, pretty much more severe for Disney's case, with the Disney stock tanking again once this movie drops and gets a lot of backlash. Whether it goes on disc in the long run, that it doesn't matter. It's still going to actually follow them. So overall, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.